Hey guys, this is Ashton
And this is Ray.
with Jackalmen Games.
So today we are going to take a look at some of the spoilers from across the galaxy. I know that, you may have seen these, popping up on either Facebook pages or Discords throughout the Star Wars Destiny world. But we wanted to take a look at some cards that we thought were really cool, things that we were excited about. And we're not going to go through all of them. I know that they did release, upwards of 18 to 20. So we're just going to pinpoint some of the characters, some of the other cards that you could see. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And we're going to try to give you as much information that we can. And, our initial thoughts on what these cards might bring to the metagame.
Yeah, so as Ray was saying, a lot of these cards have already been spoiled. A lot of people have talked about them. And we wanted to kind of give you guys our thoughts and opinion to really kick off what we feel is now the start of the spoiler season. We're expecting this set in November, correct, Ray?
Yes, sometime in November. So hopefully FFG can be on it this time.
Yeah, not string us along. But so we kind of wanted to start this here. Now we're kind of in the middle here of September. I'm sure that we're going to start seeing some sort of spoilers start popping up in October. That's what I would anticipate anyway. So we wanted to kind of get our sound the alarm here in place. Wanted to fire this thing off, talk about what we're excited about, not to go through every single cards. And then for all of the people listening to this on iTunes or Google Play, we will do the best that we can to read off the cards that we're talking about to make sure that you guys can keep up and kind of plug along.
Yeah, but before we get into that, we want to thank our Patreons, all of those who have supported Jackalmen Games to this point. We really do appreciate it. I know that we've been doing a lot of content and kind of giving you guys the best that we could, and we just really do appreciate all the love and the support that we receive back. So we'll continue to keep doing what we do because you guys really do inspire us. So I know that we've kind of adjusted some schedules around a little bit, but we're still kind of determined to give you guys some good content. So hopefully you like this.
Absolutely. And guys, make sure to check out our website at jackalmengames.com. We've been doing a lot of neat things there, changing the layout to make it a little bit more visually appealing and to get everything right there on that homepage. That way, when you guys go to jackalmengames.com, you can see everything from our articles, our videos, things that we have for sale, like these awesome stickers and t-shirts that are really affordable. So if you guys want to show your support there, we'd greatly appreciate it. And hopefully we can start structuring some more things here with our Patreons to start offering more things in the tiers. So Ray and myself, we've been thinking a lot about what we can do to give back to you guys to show more other than just the Win-A-Box, and we'll get with you guys more, so stay tuned and check out the news and updates on our Facebook page and our website on jackalmengames.com.
Yeah, that website got like a facelift the other day.
Yeah,
so.
It looks really good. So if you guys have been there before, go back and look at it. It's a lot easier to follow through, and we're hoping to have some neat little things there. So basically, if you're sitting with your friends at your locals and you're wanting to talk about good content or show something that is really important, or maybe talk about ruling or discussions, whether it's in the Discord channel or maybe possibly in the rules section of our Facebook or website page, we're wanting to kind of have some of those things readily available for you guys, including meta decks that you can quickly go to, put the deck together, and not have to search all throughout the internet to find what you need. So we're trying to get everything in that one spot.
Yep.
All right.
So I think we said all we need to say.
Yeah.
Let's hop into these spoilers.
All right. So the first one, Ray, I'll let you read that one off if you want to go through the first card here.
So the first character that we're going to take a look at is Iden Versio. She is the Inferno Squad Commander. She's a red villain character, 12 health. Her play costs are 12 for a single die and 15 for elite. And her die sides read 2 ranged, 2 focus, 1 discard, and 1 resource and a blank. And then she is a character leader trooper. So maybe that will be relevant. All those kind of subtexts will be relevant later down the road. And it says, while 1 or more of this character's character dice are in the pool, your opponent cannot take additional actions.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. So what are your initial thoughts on her, Ashton?
So one of the things that I like about her is the title, the character leader trooper. You know, those are things that we've talked about before, things that we've shared with other people, how we feel they're going to be very important, things that work alongside of the mechanics of games like Magic the Gathering. And I'm looking for those cards that we can play later that let you do something like, you know, if you have a leader in place, remove a die, or if you have a, for every trooper title or something, you get an additional action, or you resolve a die with an additional point value or something. So when I see these titles, it gets me excited because I'm sure that they have some sort of plan to put cards in place later to, you know, activate or utilize these titles. So I'm really excited to see that. Okay, because there's got to be a point why that's sectioned off. There's got to be a reason behind that other than just putting it there on the card. I mean, it doesn't make sense. One of the things I like about it too is it has the exact symbols as Phasma from the 2-player set. Okay, because Phasma has the 1 ranged, the 2 ranged, a 1 focus, and also has the resource as well, which is really cool, and the discard. And this is the first Phasma that I'm talking about here. So it's similar there, which is really neat. So I mean, I think that it's going to be good. I like the fact that it chokes out the actions, which is nice. I don't know how relevant it'll be when the cycle sets, you know, the first set cycles out. I don't know if it's going to be as useful then, because a lot of the speed is in that first block. But it's very interesting.
Yeah, I do think that her die sides are good. You know, two range sides are extremely relevant, and then the 2 focused is just really good. I can kind of agree with you that I don't know where her ability really comes into play, especially after the cycle. But you know, that remains to be seen if you know things are really going to pick up the pace in this across the galaxy. You know, we haven't seen too much that kind of alludes to the fact that they are going to have mechanics in here that are going to make things a little bit faster. But I think that FFE they're down the game. So that kind of with slowing down the game, we see a lot of these 12 health, 15 cost, elite characters. So I know that you said that you were like really excited about that. Why do you think that's such a good like point cost?
I don't know. Maybe they're trying to get more 2-character pairings. I mean, like we're gonna progress more into some of these other spoilers here, but one of the cards we're gonna be talking about next is Han Solo, which is similar point value, which can pair very well with her. But it's one of those things where, I don't know. I mean, the 12 is huge, considering that the highest hit point character we have right now is 15, which is Palpatine, correct? So I mean, that's the highest we have, which is only 3 away. Okay, so I mean, that's 3 shields that you can, acquire to put it at the same health, which is huge for 15 points if you think about that. But we're noticing, like you said, we're noticing a lot of that 12 and 15 and 12 health. So I don't know. I don't know what their point is. Maybe they're trying to just get at that sweet spot of 15, which is easy to double up to hit your 30 points. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think that they're trying to introduce 2-character pairings. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I hope that the 15 for 12 kind of becomes the standard. I know, like you said, we're getting into our next card of Han Solo, and he's 15 for 11. But just to get back to Iden, I just hope that they, for a 15-point character, this is kind of what you're going to get. Great die sides, beefy health, and then, like you said, I think that it'll encourage people to reintroduce viable two wide builds. So
Right.
Remains to be seen.
Yeah, we do have characters as well that can fit into that 7 cost, point cost value. So I mean, you could still run, a 3-character wide set, correct? I mean, you could still do it. You just have to run 2 other characters at 7 points. Still have her elite, so you can still do the 3 wide.
Yeah, you certainly could. I mean, you could put through 2.
I don't know how good it's going to be, but
yeah, you could put 2 first order stormtroopers with her and just roll out the guns. I mean, yeah, I don't know how good it would be, and I don't know how meta defining Iden is going to be, but I'm sure that someone will come up with a pretty neat character pairing with her.
Yeah, because that would be a lot of guns, and that'd be 26 health, 3-character spread.
Yep.
So I mean
Yep.
that is kind of neat. It is all the same color though, which is kind of interesting. So I don't know if they're trying to keep things more color instead of rainbow. I mean, you're always going to have those people kind of rainbow it up, but some of the character pairings that we see now with some of the new spoilers are really kind of keeping to the same color. So that's interesting.
Yeah. All right, let's get into
Let's get to the
good
next
old
one.
Han.
All right, so the
Read
next
that
one is Han Solo. So the Han Solo card that we're looking at here is actually done very well artwork wise. This is Han Solo Independent Hotshot, which is from the Solo film that I actually appreciated and liked. His point costs are 11 and 15. So here we have another character sitting at elite at 15 points. He is neutral. I'm going to read out his die sides. His die sides is 2 ranged, 1 discard, 1 resource, 1 special, and a blank. And he has some cool titles here. He's a character, scoundrel, and pilot, which is pretty cool to have that pilot category there. That's kind of neat. And as far as his special, what it does is it deals 2 indirect damage to an opponent. Then you may reveal a villain card from your hand to force that opponent to lose 1 resource, or you may reveal a hero card from your hand to gain 1 resource. So it's got some versatility there that's pretty exciting. What's your takes on it, Ray?
I think the special is extremely interesting. I think his die sides are good. You know, I don't know if it's a common theme with the range characters, especially the 15 point cost range characters, or the more heavy kind of middle range characters, that they are giving them 2 range sides and a value of 2 base sides. So his die sides are great. I really wish his health was at something like 12
Yeah,
for the
1 more point
15.
would be great. Yeah.
Yeah, yep. He kind of falls in line with a Poe Dameron. He's 15 for 11, and that's kind of just what you get. I think it's awesome that he's neutral. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see who you're going to pair him with, and kind of which side, either dark or light, that you'll get the most benefit from.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see where this fits in. I'm interested to see what we can come up with and what other people are going to see. I love that two range sides. That's huge. I love the discard. I love the resource. I love the sides. I think the sides are great. It is a legendary, and I think it fits well in that spot. So I think that's sitting in a good area there. I mean, overall, I think he's going to be very versatile, like you said. I mean, he fits well with Iden. So I think that'll be probably something people explore and move from there.
Yeah, I would probably take him. Like, the debate is going to be which villain or hero.
Mm-hmm.
Which side are you going to benefit the most from his special? And like Ashton read, the villain, when you resolve it, if you have a villain card, you could take a resource, and then if you have a hero card, you can gain a resource. He automatically does 2 indirect. It doesn't matter which card you reveal. That's kind of automatically going to happen. I would say that he fits better with heroes.
Yeah, I agree.
And I want to go like straight Han Yoda, just so you could special chain into it, because I think you get a lot of value. With Yoda's dice, you could do 2 actions. One of them would be chaining into this special, but you could grab a shield, you could take a resource, and then you resolve this Han special, and it allows you to do 2 things at once: gain another resource and deal out damage. So I think it has this kind of strange ability to ramp really well and really quickly. So I think that is a cool pairing, and then you get to implement, blue and yellow are just great colors together.
Yeah, and right now we have a plot card that will fit in for that 2 point. So I mean, you could run stolen intel to get some of that draw engines, to even maybe run weapons like blasters and things like that. Black Sun is one of the new spoilers that we won't touch much into, but it's a neutral blaster that you could run in here. It does give you the health pool of only 21 health, so that's not a bunch. But I mean, at least you can get the shields and stuff from Yoda, get the resources for like second chance and things like that until you can't play that much more. But I mean, it does have options. I mean, Force Solution, second chance, shields, resources, speed, special chain. I mean, like you said, Ray, I mean, this is something that we were talking about earlier, that it does have a nice little Yoda, like kind of like Poe Han potentially kind of thing we can do later. There's all kinds of things that we can do with this that fit very well and feel good to play. Doesn't feel inconsistent, doesn't feel janky. I mean, it's solid.
Yeah, Yeah. Who would you initially pair him with?
So I would go with a Po Han build. I think
Right.
that's where I would be. I
That
think
sounds solid.
I think that's where I would be. I like the Yoda concept, right? Because the special chain, kind of the speed and the shields. And the thing with Yoda is he really is just a great engine that allows you to do most anything you need to do in the game, right? But I think the Po Han is something that I like to put together, preferably with you, because you know how those ins and outs are of that deck, and I think it'd be really fun. Before me and Ray put this Sound the Alarm together, we were talking about this build and we were getting super excited about it. We're like, oh man, we need to just play this. We need to just build this deck right now and try it out, which we haven't. We're kind of restraining ourselves and trying to just stick with what's in the meta right now and not go down a rabbit hole. But I think the Po Han is going to be fun. And I think Poe's Blaster and maybe running Black Sun and running that speed and the hit and runs and all those things that you can do just to get that heavy blaster out. I think that's going to be fun.
Yeah, I mean, if you really, take a look at it and think about it, if you were to hit a Poe special, you resolve that, turning, Han's die to a special. You're already grabbing a shield from Poe. You're resolving his special, so there's the added value. You're turning a die, and then once you resolve Han's special, you're dealing 2 indirect and gaining a resource.
Yeah.
So you're doing so much with just 2 dice, and I think that that's what people need to think about is between those 2 character dice, you've dealt damage, you gained a shield, and you took some money. And I think that that would flush you out so much more for your later games, or if you want to ramp, if you want to protect yourself. I just think that there's a lot of good value in special chaining like that in that deck. Now it's not going to be crushing. 2 indirect damage is not the most intimidating thing, but I do think that these cards or these die that are able to do 2 things at once. That's why, Yoda special is so impactful. That's why Poe special is so impactful. Is you're gaining value, two things of value for 1 die, and that's just really good. So
And Poe's
I'm excited.
Poe's dies or sides are just amazing. That 2 focus is just so clutch, especially when you're running blasters and things that you can cheat out actions with. It's just, take 2 turns, resolve the focus, deal 4 damage or whatever it is that you're going for. So yeah, and we're talking about the Poe, not the other Poe Ace pilot. We're talking about more than a pilot Poe for all those people listening. So he is the one that came in the 2-player set, correct?
Yes,
So
he is the very accessible one, and their point costs are exactly the same, which is the 11 and 15.
And the health is the same, so they fit perfect.
Yep, and the health. So you're going to get a 22 health build. I think that that's really good. I mean, plus all the good stuff that we're getting from the red hero side with these new sets. I think that that could be a really fun deck.
All right, so just to kind of touch base, we did mention this card, so I feel it's probably good that we just read it out for people listening. And that was Black Sun that we were talking about earlier, which is 3 resources. It's an upgrade weapon. Its die sides are 2 ranged, 1 disrupt, 1 resource, a special, and a blink. And while this upgrade is on a neutral character, it has redeploy, which is why we're mentioning this here with Han Solo, and why it'd be good in this build. And its special is it deals 2 indirect damage, similar to Han here, to an opponent, then deals 1 damage to a character. So just people who are listening there, that is number 147 out of Across the Galaxy set. And yeah, we'll move on to the next card.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Your favorite card, Ray. This is the one that you're just absolutely in love with.
I'm scratching my head because with us getting like decent character, hit points and that are play cost, and I just think that this card is awkward. And it's Kit Fisto. Fisto, is that how you say his name?
Fisto, Kit Fisto.
Fisto.
And this guy, in the lore of Star Wars, this guy's no joke. Like, this guy's the real deal. Like, he's not someone to trifle with. He's not someone that's just gonna let you push him around. He's a pretty deadly dude. And he can not only survive in water but also on land. So he's got some neat little things that he does. So I wish that he was more playable because of his story, which makes me excited to play him, but his point cost just isn't right. So I don't know if you want to read that out, Ray, for us, but it's just
yeah. So
he's a happy kind of disappointed feel.
A Shy Cho Master, is that what it is? Shy Cho.
Yep, Shy Cho Master.
Okay,
which is like a fight style.
I'll read the lore on that. But he is a blue character, 11 health, 13 and 16, which is why I just get turned off by him. So 13 for a single die, 16 for elite. His die sides are 1 melee, 2 melee, 3 melee, paying a resource, 2 focus, a resource, and a blank. And then his ability is kind of neat. I guess that my favorite part of the card, but it says before this character takes damage, you may remove one of his character or upgrade dice showing melee damage to block to block damage equal to the value showing on that die. So I can't wait for when opponents play against him and they have to read that mouthful if they don't understand how it
So
works.
like, what's this story on this car? What we're reading a book? What's going on here?
Yeah,
But it's cool because it's like they're lightsaber fighting. That's what's neat.
I
It's
like
like
that.
they're
Yeah, I
fighting,
really
they're
do like
clashing, and all in all, his die sides are not bad. Like I think these sides are good in my opinion. I think that 1, that 2, that 3, it's kind of like that Mace Windu kind of feel to it. It doesn't have that big heavy 4-hitter, but you know, it's got 50% damage sides, and that 2 focus is pretty awesome. You just have to run him with another 14 elite character, you know what I'm saying? Or break that up a bit to see if you can get a 3 wide, but
Yeah, his die sides are the same thing as Zeb, with the exception of the 2 focus. So Zeb has a shield
that's
there,
right.
and Kit Fitz, so whatever his name is,
You got
has
it.
it to focus. So that's relevant. 2 focus is always good. I like characters that have 2 focus. They usually
Mhm.
are very playable, and there's so many ways to benefit from that. You're never upset when you hit a 2 focus side. But I like I said, if people are having a hard enough time, reading and understanding Dagger of Mortis, I think that he's going to offer a lot of
Yeah.
wait, exactly how does that work? Oh, it's just his character dice. No, it's his upgrade dice. No, it's both. So
Right.
I think people are going to have fun playing with him. I do not think that he is going to be a viable option in the meta. Um,
Yeah, like
you
right
know,
now, like we can only pair him with like a Jawa and a Gungan or 2 Gungans, 2 Jawas as far as going 3 wide. And then if we're getting into, like the elite characters, we can go with like maybe like Han Solo, like the savvy smuggler, is possibly an option. Maybe something with like Luke Skywalker or I don't know, Plo Koon maybe. I mean, Plo Koon, he can copy his ability over and maybe he can do something similar, which is kind of neat. So
well,
now you got like
it's
this.
it's only non-unique
Oh, you're
characters.
right. It
So
is
yeah,
non-unique. So
yeah.
yeah,
So it wouldn't be.
man, it's trash. Why?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the first person I think of is like Ayla. Would pair nicely with them,
Yeah.
but it's still, you're 21 health. You're basically down to mono blue, and you're kind of up against it. There's really no way of generating shields because Ayla doesn't have a shield side.
So you go
So
Yoda maybe, but
yeah, then you're just playing basically
yeah.
Zeb Yoda,
Yep.
and you're
Mono blue.
losing color value. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So I don't get that he is, 13, 16, because if I'm using his dice or his upgrade dice to block damage, I'm more appealing to me would be just put shields on him and use that to block damage. Then now I'm removing some of my dice or my value, and it says die showing melee damage. So you're going to want to resolve that. The only other time I could see where you're just leaving melee damage out there and kind of forcing mitigation later down the road is like if you have a guard. So he kind of
Mhm.
has like a kind of built-in guard, if
See,
you
that's
will. Like,
that's what I was just thinking. I'm like, what they should have done is they should have made this a power action with a built-in guard. Like, I know that his
yes,
point value probably isn't right. Like, let's put him at 18 instead of 16 or something. But give him a power action so you can only use it once. You know what I'm saying? Put him at 18. Now he's something.
right.
Now he could be something that actually is worth playing. I mean, preferably 17, so we can still get those 13-point characters in there. But something like that, because this is just why am I going to spend all these resources and take all these actions to get this dice out here just to block stuff that I could use shields for?
Yeah, and it has to match the value.
Yeah.
So like that's so situational to me that I feel like even though it's not a power action, like you said, so you can do it multiple times in a turn, like I guess that's great. That's his upside. But I mean, you're rolling him in and with an ancient saber on there, and hopefully you hit ones or twos or and block someone's 2 range side. So if you're rolling this in with an ancient lightsaber, you only have two sides on the 3 dice that you're rolling in. That's going to hit that too. So I don't know how relevant it's going to be. And then you're removing damage to block damage, which is something that shields could achieve.
Yeah, and it
So
doesn't feel right. It really doesn't. Removing
no,
that die for shields. Just go after shields. Play a caution. I mean,
yeah,
at least if you're going to remove a die, get 3 shields, because the chances of matching that die side for 3 to remove 3 damage, that your opponent's going to do to you is very unlikely versus just playing a caution.
we're already kind of restricted to his die sides as far as like matching the damage. I kind of wish that it's just said something more like remove a die showing melee damage, and then block the damage that he would be taking. I don't know. I feel like they could have done it a little bit better. It seems very narrow and very, very situational.
Yeah, so to sum it up, die size are good, health isn't bad, points are not the greatest, but can be dealt with, but the ability just makes him to where I don't feel he's going to get a lot of play. I feel like that's why we haven't seen him floating around TTS, because we have the proxies on our website that people can go to and download and put into TTS. And there's other content creators as well putting those things out, like Destiny Down Under, and which does a great job as well. We work with them to try to put those out, but I don't see a lot of this floating around at all, and that's probably the reason why.
Yeah, he's just not that good.
All right, man. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. All right, so the next one here that we're going to talk about, and Ray, you want to read this one off, buddy?
Yeah, so we're moving right into Qui-Gon Jinn, Defiant Jedi Master. He is a 12 health, so I like to see that. Blue character, hero. He is 14 for a single die and 18 for elite, so that's pretty rough. His die sides read 1 melee, 2 shields, a resource, and a blank. And then he also has a couple paragraphs on him. So he's a character Jedi, and it says, while this character has 2 or more shields, increase the value of his character die by 1. And while this character has 3 or more shields, increase the value of his upgrade dice by 1.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I mean, you load them up, and things hit 1 point harder,
Yep. I mean, initially you'd say pair him up with Yoda, but he's a 14-18 elite. So he's going to have a hard time finding a partner. But I think his die sides are good, and they, the text and the ability is kind of fun.
It is. 18, like you said, is pretty high. He is essentially 1 point higher than the original Qui-Gon that we have from Awakenings, which is 13 and 17 versus 14 and 18, correct?
Yep.
And 1 point less in health. So literally it just took him, did better artwork, because the original artwork was just absolutely horrendous. And then they just stepped it up 1 point. And, it's kind of neat. Ray's been trying to help me understand the trends of points and how, things are laid out in the tables. Like most of the time, point values are increased by 3 points to take them from 1 die to elite. And, with this, they went up 4 points for the transition. And this whole card here was increased by 1. So I like how he has the title of Defiant Jedi Master. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think, like you brought up the old Qui-Gon, and a lot of people have said it so far. Is just initial reaction is like, this is cool. It's fun. You can increase the value if you have 2 or more shields on him. You can, which is easily obtainable. His values become a 2 melee side, a 3 melee side, 3 shield, and 2 resources. So like that's really cool. He really just gets a giant. But I still think he's still viable is the old Qui-Gon, and especially when you see cards like his the new lightsaber, the Qui-Gon Jinn's lightsaber.
Yeah,
I don't know if you want to touch on that.
That's a great card.
Let's hop right into that one.
Yeah, so to touch base on Qui-Gon Jinn's lightsaber, it costs 3 resources to play. Okay, it is a blue upgraded weapon for hero, and its die sides are 2 melee plus 3 melee, 1 shield, 2 shields, 2 shields again, and a blank. So after 1 or more shields are removed from attached character, you may exhaust this upgrade to give that character 1 shield. So you remove it, and then you add it. If this upgrade is on Qui-Gon Jinn, you may draw a card. So it gives you kind of like that Ezra kind of feel with that draw engine, which is nice, which is always good, especially now. So I think that's really good. Again, with the paragraphs that are there as far as what we can do and the activation abilities or upgrade abilities, they're neat, but it can trigger.
Yeah, I think this card would have been like set over the top with the text redeploy on it.
Mm-hmm.
I love, this is a unique upgrade. So it's a Qui-Gon Jinn's lightsaber. So for those of you that weren't aware, it is unique. But I love the ability that it says, once one or more shields are removed from attached character. So it's not, that first section is not just restrictive to Qui-Gon himself. But then if you're playing this upgrade on Qui-Gon, you kind of get that added benefit of drawing the card. I would have liked to maybe see a resource side on here, because anytime I'm playing or paying 3 resources for an upgrade, I still want to have a resource side on there to just kind of pay myself back a little bit if I need to. But I think that this card can go into several different builds, not just with
Oh yeah.
Qui-Gon. Yeah, I could see this with like Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Jedi Master one from Legacies. I could see this, with any kind of character that benefits from shields, like the old Qui-Gon or Rey too. You hit me, and then I put another shield right back on, kind of are automatically um, keeping Rey's trigger, her pinging
Mm-hmm.
trigger online. And then, like we were talking about with the old Qui-Gon, you could remove those shields. He's going to get it right back, and then he can kind of ping you for 1 damage automatically.
Yeah, I mean, you're essentially just losing that draw engine when it's not on Qui-Gon.
Yep.
But like Ray is saying, I mean, it's going to be better played on the original Qui-Gon right now from what we see. But I wish I had to redeploy for that 3 heavy cost. I mean, you can always override it, but I mean, those shield size are ridiculous. I mean, that's a lot of shields. I mean, we're seeing a
Yeah.
lot of shields in this game right now, and I imagine that's there to offset the massive amounts of indirect that we're suffering from with these villain vehicles. Which don't get me down that hole, but I mean, it's something that is needed, and they're definitely supplying it. I think the sides are great for 3. I do. I wish it was like redeployable or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like you said, I think you could certainly overwrite into it, but I think that the damage sides leave kind of a lot to be desired. I would have liked if this card would be busted if it was like, 2 melee, 2 melee, 3 melee, and then just kind of remove that second or that 1 shield side. Because I think you're paying 3 resources for an upgrade, and then you roll it out and you hit 1 shield. You're going to want to get more value than that.
So
Even 2 shields, I think that you're still going to want to kind of re-roll for more value.
I have a question for you, Ray, and this is something
Yeah.
I was just noticing. If we go back and look at Qui-Gon Jinn, notice how the text reads, while this upgrade has 3 or more shields, increase the value of his upgrade die by
Yep.
1. It's not all of his upgrades, right? It's just his upgrade, meaning like Qui-Gon Jinn's lightsaber. What upgrade? What are they referring to by his upgrade? And is it plural or is it just 1 upgrade?
Yeah, so it would be that is kind of neat.
Because it says increase the value of his upgrade die by 1.
Yeah, I would assume. Yeah, because it doesn't say his upgrade dice.
So
Oh yeah, it says. Yeah, it says. It says upgrade dice. I'm sorry. So yeah, it's any upgrade dice that's attached to him, as
okay.
long as he has 3 shields. So it's not restrictive to just Qui-Gon saber. You could have your ancient on there, becomes a +4 side. The 1 sides become 2s. So an heirloom becomes a 2, 3, 4. So it could hit really hard.
And it doesn't say upgrade die, it says upgrade dice, so that is considered plural. So increasing the value of his upgrade dice, like all of his dice. So it's just something I wanted to, just touch base on, just kind of dissect some of the wording there, is how do we interpret that? So, and if you think about that, that's crazy. Like, that's really big, dude. You get them loaded up. I mean, you're hitting for these plus sides with +4 now. I mean, plus, Shotos are hitting for +3s, right?
Yeah, he'll become a beast. But I think the second you either resolve shield sides to put 3 shields on them, or even if you do things out of your hand like cautions, pacify to get some shields on them, or pretty much anything that can generate shields for you. even like heightened awareness, pay the 2, put
Yeah.
3 shields on, ambush. I think people are going to immediately, um, you know, recognize that and try to, eat into those shields. The
'Cause you
good
could.
thing is it incentivizes them to take off your shields as quickly as possible, which is
Mhm.
just like, hey, target this really, beefed up character defensively, and you're really not going to get too much into his character health because he's so shielded up. And then all the while they're leaving kind of your other character off to the side, just kind of left alone. But then with that 14, 18 kind
Yeah.
of play cost, I don't know who his comparable character pairing is going to be.
Yeah, and not to spend a bunch of time on Qui-Gon, but I think that heightened awareness play is going to be key. I mean, it's like you get him loaded up, you get his die out, then you heighten awareness, you throw up them shields, and then you deal the damage.
Yeah, because you can get the dice out and then put the shields
Mhm.
on later before you
Yeah,
resolve them.
exactly. Just to get that initial 1 buff. And if you got 3 dice out, that's 3 additional damage that you're doing on top of what you have there. Plus, whatever you're doing with this character die, if he has 2
Yeah.
shields. So
I think it's cards like this that, and what we got from the last set of Way of the Force, that this is why Ayla Sakura got balanced, because she would have been a 12, point elite that you could have paired with Qui-Gon, and it would have been ridiculous.
yeah, that
So
makes sense.
I think that, that in addition
Yeah.
to, the vehicle deck that she was in, that's the reason we're kind of seeing and understanding why things got such a bump. So yeah, I think that that would have been an amazing deck. I would have loved to play it because then you could use her special to chain into some of those beefy upgrades that are now value increased.
Yep, and get those
So
shields online, and I mean that's neat. It's definitely a good concept. I mean, it makes sense now.
yeah, so yeah, I'm excited about Qui-Gon. I'm gonna play around with him.
All right, so to go to the next character here, and I'll go ahead and read this one out. This is going to be Jin Urso, Daring Infiltrator. This is a 12 health point character. Its points are 13 and 16 elite. Its die sides are 2 ranged, plus 2 ranged, 1 discard, 1 discard, and a blank. This character, the title here is Character-Leader. And it's got a great ability that I've fallen in love with very quickly. It says after you activate this character, you may look at the top 3 cards of an opponent's deck and rearrange them in any order. Then you may discard the top card of that deck. So you essentially draw the 3 cards, you find the one that you basically don't want them to have or to pull, and then you would just basically mill that off the top. So Ray, what's your take on this card here?
My first kind of hesitation with this card is it has no resource sub.
Yeah.
And I think that unless you could find other ways to generate money or pair her with somebody that that is known to generate money, I think you're going to have a hard time kind of ramping or furthering your board state. So that's my first kind of initial hesitation about her. But as far as the ability and the damage die sides, I think they're great. I think that usually you don't want to see a modifier on your one of your bigger characters that you're committing 16 play cost at, but she makes up for it with the 2 other based ranged, two range damage sides. So yeah, I think that she's going to be really good. And like you said, I think that that ability just adds this layer of control that we haven't really seen. It's her ability is the card strike briefing.
Yeah.
And that card was certainly played in mill decks. So to have that attached to a character, always online, every time you activate them, I think it's pretty strong.
One of the things that could answer the issue with resources is if you happen to have Scrap Heap out on the field. Okay, so Scrap Heap is 1 cost resource. After you discard 1 or more cards from an opponent's deck, you may exhaust a support to gain a resource. So you're going to discard the top card of your opponent's deck just right off the fact of activating Jin. So that's a neat little way to gain that extra resource. Because the only other way you have with the die sides here is just Cassian's die. That's the only thing that lets you resolve that resource. Other than that, with Jin not having that resource, one of the things you can do is Scrap Heap. And that's a neat little answer. It's not always consistent because you have to have that out, but it stays out. You know what I'm saying? So, each time you would activate her, that's just another way of gaining that resource, which is really neat. I mean, that's some cool little tech.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna pair her with Cassian, I could definitely see like a Maz's Vault, being
Mhm.
in there. You do have access to things like Truce and Well Connected, so I could see how you can kind of generate resources.
But that's a way to
What?
not benefit your opponent, though. That's what's cool about it.
Right, right. Yeah, the scrap heap's a decent tech. I do like that because every time you activate her, now you're up to 3 resources. You could certainly tank out Cassian and just kind of make him the biggest threat as Jin is just sitting there, um, just ripping cards out of the top of their deck. But yeah, I think that Jin Cassian is going to be a good deck for sure.
So in playtesting now, I mean, it seems pretty broken because everything we're testing right now with these proxies is in a vacuum. So we like to not spend a lot of time with these cards because we don't want to focus a lot of our energy into that. But right now, it does feel pretty broken. Do you feel that this ability is going to be super strong later in the future, Ray? You think there's going to be more cards that are going to have crazy abilities? Because we're noticing a lot of paragraph of text on these new characters. Do you think this is the way the game's going?
I think that like from a design point, they're trying to make the characters a focal point, make them impactful and strong. Specifically with like Jin's ability, I think that um, it's this layer of control that we've never seen in Destiny before, where, like I said, that strike briefing is a card. It's a red hero card that's played. It does exactly what her ability reads, and you know the kind of advantage to that was you got to see what was coming up next. Well, you have a strike briefing every turn, and you can really screw your opponent over into his, what they're going to draw. You can mess up Towson decks if they have, that 1 or 2 even cost card in their
Yeah,
deck, and then
very true.
you hit it. You can mess up that.
Yeah, that's a great
Um,
shutdown. Yeah, that's a great
yeah,
tech. And for those who are listening, strike briefing, just to read that out real quick, it's a 0 cost hero card, like Ray was saying. Look at the top 3 cards of an opponent's deck and rearrange them in any order. Then you may discard the top card of that deck, and you can see it's very similar to her ability.
yeah. It's the exact same thing. So I thought that was like cool. If you are pairing her with Cassian, there leaves you with this like wild, you know, dual wielding kind of mill deck slash aggro deck, and I think it's either route you can press aggressively. So if you want to go with the aggro, you just throw your gun package down, hit and runs and quick draws, and you become a fast aggro deck. But all the while you're naturally milling them.
Exactly. It does it passively, which is just amazing. Resolving Cassian's die, and when you activate her, you get these crazy triggers.
Right. And like it's really huge when you play cards like Strength or Weakness is a blue mill card that says for 3 resources, take the top 4 off of a deck. The reason that's impactful is because 4 cards is essentially another hand. Well, with this, you are activating Jin, you're rearranging those 3 cards and then removing 1. So you already took 1 away from them. And then if you resolve Cassian's 2 dice, and you say, I'm going to take 2 more off the top, you're you're getting 2 more, which is now 3 total. So you're taking, a third, or 75% of the next hand,
Hmm.
um, and you're digging into that deck and gaining knowledge, either what they're running. You can keep them off things. So if they're playing, a deck that is reliant on like a second chance or a force illusion, and one of their characters is already hurting a little bit, and you take a look at the top of their deck and you see a second chance is on its way, you just discard it.
Yeah,
So it's
so
really strong,
powerful.
and I think that level of control, it shouldn't be like understated.
And not only that, they printed this amazing card to go with her, which is Jin Urso's Blaster, which is 3 resources. It's a hero card, and its die sides are 2 ranged plus 3 ranged, 3 indirect, discard, 1 shield, and it has redeploy. And after you activate attached character, you may reroll this die or discard the top card of a deck. If this upgrade is on Jin Urso, reroll any number of her character dice. So the character dice reroll is crazy. The discard is crazy. The redeploy is crazy. I mean, geez, what are they doing? It's like
This card is slightly busted. The damage sides are really good. Not only, we're all gonna assume that everyone's running Jin Cassian because that's just
Mhm.
it works out. It gives you access to great colors. So to have 2 base side, 3 modified side ranged, like that's really strong.
It's huge.
And then they throw the 3 indirect in there because you're going to be dishing. We talked about the mill option that you can go with Castian's dice, but you could certainly resolve them as indirect. So now we're throwing range, we're throwing mill, and then we have this indirect that someone has to
So
compensate
much
for.
synergy. It's like if
Yeah.
this is piloted really well, this deck could be unstoppable in a vacuum with what we have right now. So I mean, we understand that we haven't seen the rest of the cards, but right now it's just like this is like one of the decks to play. So
And then I want to state that like the redeploy is great. Obviously, we like to see that on upgrades that we're committing 3 resources to. But this is very similar to Qui-Gon Jinn's saber in the
mhm.
sense that the first kind of chunk of the text applies to anybody. So it says after you activate attached character, you may re-roll this die or discard the top card of a deck. So that applies to anybody that this blaster is on. And then if it's attached to Jin, you get the added benefit of being able to re-roll any of her dice. Which, when you like Ashton was saying, we've been playtesting with these just here and there in TTS, and he was kind of piloting Jin, and he threw the blaster down, and I thought to myself, hey, I'll just mitigate the die if it hits anything scary, but it provides so much. I think he rolled it in. He was able to take a card off my deck, 2 cards off the top of my deck because he activated it with Jin, and then he re-rolled all of Jin's dice, and now he was hitting damage sides. So it was a really feel bad moment when he took 2 cards off the top of my deck, had knowledge of the 3rd card that was in my deck, and then he re-rolled his dice for optimal value, or just to get a second re-roll.
Yeah, then you run
Um,
cards like Friends in Low and just pull out stuff from their hand for 0 because you have the red or the yellow ability now to play these cards. I mean, it's just so much you can do.
it just feels like with Across the Galaxy, a little bit of Way of the Force as well, that the characters as well as some of the upgrades, we're doing so much with less. So we're
Mhm.
resolving 1 die or we're activating 1 character, and we're getting so much more. I touched on that point with Han Solo, that the new Han Solo, that when you resolve his special, you're getting 2 things. When you activate Jin with this blaster on her, I mean, you're getting her activation. You're getting the blaster's inherent activated ability, which is re-roll this die or take the top card. Then you're getting an additional benefit from it being placed on Jin. So all you're doing is activating a character with this blaster on, and you're able to trigger 3 different things.
Yeah, it's crazy. And everyone listening and watching, we appreciate you guys hanging tight with us. We have about 4 more cards we're going to go through. We're going to kind of go through these more quickly, but I know we have a lot of information we're delivering to you guys, but again, if you guys haven't given a lot of thought to these cards and the spoilers coming out, we wanted to kind of refresh everybody and kind of introduce into this spoiler season. So I'm ready to go to the next one. Ray, are you?
Yeah,
All
let's
right, here
move
we
on.
go, buddy. I'll let you read this one out. So the next card that we're going to have here is going to be the TIE Fighter. Now, the TIE Fighter, we're going to pull this up here. All right, Ray, go ahead.
All right, so the TIE Fighter is a red villain support. It costs 2 resources. Its die sides read 1 ranged plus 2 modified ranged, 2 indirect, 1 disrupt, 1 resource, and a blank. It is a support vehicle. I actually love the art on this card as
Oh,
well.
it's
Um,
amazing.
yeah, like in the sunset, it's great.
It's like
Uh,
Cloud City feel. Anyway.
yeah, for sure. But it has ambush, and it says you may include up to 4 copies of this support in your deck. And it says after you play the support, search your deck for a copy of it, reveal it, and add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. It is a rare, and I think it's ridiculously good.
Should have been legendary. Just the shuffle. I like the shuffle. It's like you're doing these things, you're pulling this stuff out, you're shuffling your deck, changing what you're getting. Like, let's say you're not drawing what you need, right? You've been getting bad hands, or whatever the case is. You kind of get that chance to kind of reshuffle up, which is neat. But that whole 4 copy going that direction with vehicles, it's kind of like, it kind of scares me in a little bit. Like, is this, are we going to see a lot more of this? I kind of hope we don't, because I kind of like the way the game plays. But with this and this ability, that's crazy, man. You can just spit those things out like crazy, which is neat thematically. You got this big swarm of TIE fighters, so it's got that great Star Wars feel. But I mean, it's definitely a powerful card for only 2.
I think that this card is going to be abused in Thrawn Snoke builds, because you can generate, the resources you need, and then it blows my mind. Not only the 4 copies, that's something we've never seen before in Star Wars Destiny, but the fact that it has ambush on there, so you can play this card, you search your deck for another one, you shuffle your deck, you reveal it, and then you play the other one if you have the money, and then you keep doing this until you're done with your turn, and then you still are left with, if after you play your last TIE fighter, you're still left with an ambush.
I
So you
know.
can then roll a couple of them in, roll one of them in, start that whole engine, or you start rolling in your characters. I just think that it's wild. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a card out there that says activate.
Deploy squadron.
Yeah, deploy squadron. Activate all supports in order of
for
your
0.
choice.
So
for 0.
You power action Thrawn's 2 resource side for 4 resources. You spit out 2 TIE fighters and you roll them both out.
Yeah,
it's like, I know you don't get all 4 out, but you get 2 out, which is crazy.
And you're gonna have another one in your hand.
Yeah.
So
yep.
I just think it's crazy that once one comes out, another one it just replaces itself.
Yeah.
In your hand, like one in your hand, one on the board. But yeah, thematically it's awesome because we always see TIE fighters coming in giant swarms. They're almost like bees coming out of the hive. That's always how they're portrayed. So I love that. I just really hope that this doesn't get broken fast.
It's gonna get annoying to play against, like Mill, and I think it's so cool because Thrawn, like with his pose and what he does, is like this super strategic, leader. He's got this great way of pairing with Snoke and just kind of swarming out these TIE fighters. It's really cool, like the whole story and the whole feel, and thematically, it's really neat. That feels good. I mean, you got to play this on the GQ Thrawn mat. I mean, that's just a way to do it,
Yeah.
So it's cool.
The GQ Thrawn mat.
Heck yeah, man. That's a great mat. Great.
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
So, I know there's a lot to be said about this, but it's not a hard card to figure out. We just wanted to at least mention it. It's kind of part of like our honorable mentions here. The neat thing that's really cool about this, that I was talking to Ray about, we were kind of discussing, is now, we have these things that we can add to vehicles. And as most people know, we have these mods. So we have for 2 resource, we have a triple laser turret, which is a upgrade weapon mod. It says modify vehicle support. And while this die is in your pool, attached support die cannot be removed by your opponents. And its sides are a 2 ranged, a 3 ranged for 1 resource, a +2 range, a 2 indirect, a 1 shield, and a blank. And it's neutral. So, and we'll explain why the neutral is so great here in a little bit, but I mean, this mod is going to be played. I mean, this mod is going to be on vehicles. It doesn't matter if it's a TIE fighter or not. For 2 resources, I mean, those sides are amazing. What do you think?
Yeah, for 2 resources, the sides are busted. But I also think, if you're running a deck that, it doesn't have a lot of range sides, but is like a more vehicle heavy indirect deck, you could certainly just attach this to it and then match up some of those range sides with either your characters or with 2 base range sides, you could still hit hard with it. So I don't think it necessarily needs to be on a vehicle that specifically has range sides
Yeah.
to get the value out of the
Good
die.
point. Good point. Yeah, because you do have the 3 base side damages, so you still got the 2 indirect, still got the 3 base, you still have the 2. So I mean, yeah, you're right. It's just playable no matter what in this neutral. So it's a great card.
Like what I'm thinking is like to get this out immediately, and this is so stupid, is put it on a 1 gray pod racer.
Yeah, dude, that's great actually.
So for 3, you have the pod racer's dice,
Yeah.
and you have this. But question would be, if that pod racer hits a blank, does this get bounced back to your hand or just get discarded?
It'd probably get discarded. Yep.
Yeah,
The mod
so
would
it's
fall
crazy.
off. It wouldn't stay. So then you lost it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was like my initial thing. I was like, how can I get this out for the cheapest value? But that pod racer.
Do you think we're good?
It's a,
You think we're gonna see more like vehicle removal cards now? You think there's gonna be more things that are gonna kind of come out that's gonna shut down vehicles? Because this is really powerful. In this
yeah,
meta, especially.
I would have to assume that you definitely would. I don't think things like just the vandalizes or
Yeah.
a couple specials here and there like the N1 Starfighter, the ATST. They can deal with vehicles or supports. I think something needs to be there, and it needs to be kind of cheap and kind of achievable to get to. Vandalize is the most viable because we all have character dice. It's just sometimes it's a feel bad card because you want your character dice out there to provide value, but you have to remove them just to deal with something. There are cards that are overcosted that are just basically remove that support or whatnot. And you guys can dive deeper into them. It's just they haven't really been viable. But I think with the rise of vehicles, vehicles have always been strong. I just hope that they don't create now just a vehicles meta. And we've seen with the major tournaments that have been happening that once vehicles kind of figured out how they needed to play against Mill and Yoda, because Mill used to be vehicles an auto loss for vehicles or a really uphill battle, because the power of your deck is in your deck,
Yeah.
and it needs time to develop and start dishing those things out. But now they can with Snoke power actioning resources, there's ways to just get things out so much faster. And once Mill falls behind, it's going to be behind for the rest of the game. So, yeah, I just hope it doesn't get take over.
So the crazy thing is I see this benefiting more of the villains still right now, because one of the builds that me and Ray were talking about, and something that I was excited about that might still be janky, of course, but it's neat to think about, is doing a build with the TIE pilot, like bringing him back out. His sides are terrible because they're modified, but while this die is in your pool, it says your other dice showing ranged cannot be removed by an opponent. So you have the TIE pilot out, you're running Snoke and Balatique, you're running rainbow vehicles, and then you're running also this mod, while the die in your pool attached support die cannot be removed by an opponent as well. So you're just adding these layers to where they can't remove your range die. So for them to shut down your range die, they have to get rid of the TIE pilot, and then for them to touch your TIE pilot or your TIE fighter die, they would have to remove the turret die. So it's like they can't remove all 3. They have to remove one, which would be the TIE pilot, then remove the turret, then remove the actual TIE fighter. So it's just like this layer of die protection for ranged, which is a really neat idea. So that's something that I'm excited to test with and to see how it plays out. And of course, whatever else we get later, in the game. So that's just a neat concept to think of the layers that is being applied that they have to get through mitigation wise.
Yeah, I think that could be a really good and viable deck. Snoke being there to provide the consistency, and the Bala untap is still very relevant and scary. So you could put like the little pea shooters, the DH-17s on Bala, and then as soon as you roll in that TIE fighter, then Bala's dice are safe for the moment. And then there's so much range damage that you could match up.
Trying
So
to fit in
yeah,
Sienna, even try to reactivate your vehicles and roll them out with these mods attached to them. It's just crazy. And then everything's protected by TIE pilot. Yeah.
you could even go
And notice their suits. It's really thematic again, which is really cool because you got all these pilots. It's neat.
right. Yeah, I think that deck could be good. I mean, you could even run an elite Sienna and a Bala and just kind of go that route.
Mm-hmm.
But really, you're trying to highlight the way that the the TIE fighter kind of protects a layer of your dice, and then the turret protects a layer of your dice. It just becomes really annoying for your opponent to interact with you.
Yep, like an onion.
So like an onion. So we got villains and how amazing their vehicle decks are going to shape up to be, but we also got introduced something for heroes. So I read the TIE pilot. Why don't you take us through what hero
Yeah,
got?
absolutely. So one of my favorite vehicles in Star Wars is the original X-wing, and it's got some neat little tricks. I don't think it's as good as the TIE fighter, but it costs 2 resources. Okay, this is the X-wing. It's a support vehicle. It's for hero. Its die sides are X ranged for 1 resource, X indirect, 1 disrupt, 1 shield, 1 blink. It says you may include up to 4 copies of the support in your deck, so you get to kind of mirror the TIE fighter ability there. The X on the die is equal to the number of copies of the support you have in play. So Ray, what's your kind of initial take on this? I mean, when you saw this, knowing what the TIE fighter already was, because the TIE fighter was spoiled first, and then the X-wing came out later. Were you impressed by it? Did you feel it was underpowered? Did you feel it wasn't fair compared to the TIE fighter? What did you think about it?
So I think initially, if once you just take a look at both the cards, you look at the TIE fighter and you say, "Oh my God, that's so much better. That's just way better than this X-wing." But if you're thinking about what vehicle decks are trying to achieve, they're not. It'd be great to put a bunch of TIE fighters out there and just start rolling them in.
Yeah.
But they do have restrictions on their ceiling of damage. So they have the modified range side. They have the indirect side that's restricted to 2. But I think if you were able to get 3 or the 4th X-wing down, you're looking at die sides that are really impactful as far as damage goes. 4 range side, don't have to pay a dime for. 4 ranged, paying $1, and then 4 indirect. So the things that will remain the same is the 1 disrupt, the 1 shield, and the blank. So first glance, the TIE fighter looks like it's better, but I actually think for the long game, the X-wing packs more of a punch. And I think that's cool because that's thematic as well. The TIE fighters,
Yeah.
they always come out in numbers,
Mm-hmm.
but we're always watching them get shot down by just a few
Yep.
wings.
They're strong in numbers, but they're not strong in power. Versus the
Right.
X-wings are not strong in numbers, they're strong in power. And it brings like that team and that unity together, which is very thematic as well. So I mean, they're doing a great job with designing this game and the way they're doing this. So I'm super proud of that. So I mean, I put a deck together with Hera and Maz, and not to get much into that build, but we tried to do the whole Hera vehicle deck again and trying to run certain things to where we can get vehicles out fast and ramp these out. And I was able to get the X-wings out, all 4 of them, by turn 3. And it was fun. It felt good. I'm not a big fan of the X value because I feel like if I'm going to pay for something, I need to know what it's going to bring me. And the thing that makes it good now is that they stay on the field, they stay on the board. So there's not really a lot to get rid of them, other than some of the cards that we previously mentioned. But it's something that I feel like I'm not comfortable with, even though it does feel good and it can do a lot of damage. It's like I want to play something that I know what value is going to be there. Because if you don't happen to get them or draw them, then it just sits out there as a 1 or sits out there as a 2, and then it doesn't feel so great anymore. But again, that's something that playtesting brings. That's something that matchups will show as far as if it's going to be strong and if that X value is a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, I think that you will certainly see a lot of plays where you have 2 of these down and you're showing some lethal range side and someone vandalizes 1 copy of the X-wing, and now that dice is out of the pool,
Mm-hmm.
and your other X-wing dice is now 1. So certainly there's going to be plays where it feels really bad to have that X value, but I think that goes both ways, where it could
Okay.
feel really bad because you're uncertain as to what the actual value is, but also the upside is the actual value can be 3 to 4.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking I'm only paying 2 for something that is in a 3 to 4, with 50% damage sides, that's strong. That's
And
just
all
really
4
strong.
X-wings have 4. So
Right.
it's like, and then it just really just ramps from there. So yes, it can be potentially really good. So I mean, it's something in playtesting. I wonder how it's going to do when more of the cards are spoiled, to see if there's stuff that removes it. I would say if nothing really removes it, this is a great card that heroes need right now for vehicles. So I'm excited to see that. Yeah, and then you also have the mods. They're neutral, so you can also attach the mods to the X-Wing. So that's how you can get your value a little earlier, even if you don't have the multiple X-Wings out. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
right.
that's actually a way to modify that to where you can get that initial value. So now that I think about the mods, it does seem more playable, because even if you have the mods, you got 4 of these X-Wings, 2 of these mods in your hand, right? That's 6 cards. I mean, that's huge. I mean, that's almost half of what your deck is. So it's it's considerably in your favor to draw these cards early game to get that. So yeah, now that I think about that, it does add more value with the mod. So
I think with deck building, the mods are going to be like in a place of like 1 or a split, maybe like between
okay,
2 different mods. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of other ones, just because you can't play them unless you have a
a
vehicle to
vehicle,
attach it to.
yeah,
So I do think that they're going to be like a one of, maybe like to win more type of card. I don't know how the meta is going to adapt to them. I know there's certainly going to be like feel good moments when you have your vehicle down. Now you have an upgrade, basically a mod to attach to your vehicle.
right,
I think that that's going to provide a lot of like, and that's what they did as far as the designs point. They made the mod ridiculously overpowered as far as the die sides go, for 2 resource costs, because they're trying to incentivize people to play them, because they are situational. That's why this X-wing or the TIE fighter, you pay the 2 and you get something that's going to stay out there. You don't have to play a support or vehicle and then put a mod on.
makes sense,
So
yeah.
that's why I do think that they're going to be few and far between. But I think for hero that the X-wing is a fine card.
Well, I think we have one more card we want to cover, right, Ray?
Okay, yeah. So the next card I want to talk about, I think, is extremely relevant, not only in what we've seen with the current meta, but I think when Across the Galaxy hits, it certainly is going to be impactful mitigation. And I think from a design standpoint, it was really well done. So it's called Improvised Defense. It's a neutral yellow support that costs 1 resource. It's common, so I was kind of surprised to see that. And it says after a die is turned, you may discard the support from play to remove that die. So I think it's really strong with all the focusing that we have going around with Yoda and special chaining, and with Mother Talzin. So there's are 3 of the biggest and most widely played characters. Not only in Star Wars Destiny, just casual play, but also in competitive play. So to see that this support can really shut down the kind of added advantage you get with those characters. And I think that it's awesome. You pay it, and it's one of those cards like Suppressive Fire, where you pay it and you activate it or you discard it when you feel the need to.
Yeah, and I love that feel.
Yep.
Yeah, I love the feel of that. You get to immediately interact right when they do something. I think that's really strong.
Yeah. So my initial thought on this was, you had brought up the Han Poe deck. You could certainly run something like that. This is neutral, so you could play it. You can also play your suppressive fires and your honor guards, and then you just make a deck with docking bay, and you're able to kind of recycle these, and you kind of recycle whatever's needed. If you're dealing with a damage deck and you want to grab your honor guards, you grab that. If you're dealing with a deck that has a lot of dice manipulation, grab your improvised defense, because it really just kind of turns that off. So I think that could be certainly a viable deck, and I think this card is just really well designed.
Yeah, I think it really is, especially all the focuses and stuff we're getting out now. I mean, it's just they're having to use up that die for nothing. And if
Right.
anything, it's going to force them to try to action cheat through things, but even then they can't. I mean, that's what's so great. It's immediate response, and that feels really strong.
Yeah, like The way to kind of get around the improvised defense is if you have a 2 focus, you can change 2 dice,
Yeah.
and then you can only, if you have the improvised defense, you can only remove one of the 2 that they just focused up. But still, I think it's really strong that now they're removing a die from the pool to focus other dice, and then you're now, even if it's 2 focus, you're now limiting by removing another dice. So they had 3 dice out in the pool at once. They removed one to gain the benefit of the focus, and now you're removing one of the focus dice. I think it's just super strong.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope that everyone kind of gets the idea of what we're trying to do here is not read through all these cards, but just really talk about the ones that we feel that are going to be really impactful. And I'm super excited to see what happens. I'm definitely looking forward to this set. I think it's, or this expansion, I should say. And I feel it's a great way to end this block with all these great cards and these great abilities. It makes it really exciting.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see some more spoilers. I think that they did a good job during the major events of, Gen Con all the way to Nova
Yep.
and some of the UK Nationals to kind of just sprinkle these spoilers out. We still do have some time until Across the Galaxy is released,
Hmm.
so enjoy it. Certainly, keep up with the current meta and kind of stick to what's relevant now. But like Ashton said, we wanted to kind of look towards the future and see, what the new concept or the new set is going to bring.
Absolutely. So guys, just to put this all to closing, be sure to make sure you check out our Facebook page and our website. You guys can get these spoilers in TTS to explore and play with these if you haven't done it already. And TTS is Tabletop Simulator, which you can get and download in Steam. So it's just a great way to explore this game and test out some builds to figure out what to play at your local meta.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to be working on a new release schedule on our content. So
Mhm.
like we said, we really appreciate all the support that we've get from our Patreons. We're gonna be working on our gameplay a little bit more, trying to become a little bit more competitive in that scene. As Star Wars Destiny players, if you're the best player at your local meta or still just learning, we're all trying to get better. Even content creators are actively working on their game. So we're going to slow down some of the content to try to bring you guys better and more refined content. So hopefully you'll appreciate that, and the content that we do bring you is a little bit more focused. So with that, I think it's time to wrap this thing up.
We thank you guys so much for joining us. And thanks, Ray. I appreciate it, buddy.
All right, take care. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to head over to the Jackalmen Games Patreon page, where patrons receive exclusive content as well as access to our Discord channel, where you can interact with Kevin, Ashton, and Ray on a daily basis. Any amount that you can provide is greatly appreciated, and we'll see you next time on Jackalmen Games.